All right.
There you go. Good for
I'd
you.
like to welcome Arnold Serafin into the JSU Train Talk room. Arnold,
Thank you, John.
thank you for joining us. This is an absolute blast. We got everybody off on this side on Facebook Live. We have some people
It's an
actually
honor, man.
behind this thing. There's people sitting on
Behind
the
the
other
curtain.
side of this, believe it or not.
The Wizard of Oz, they're
And,
behind the curtain.
That's so cool.
I got Lena sitting to my left, and we got what we call the Master at Arms, Glenn Tarsi, which is Candy's husband. He is sitting at 1 o'clock, sort of 12 o'clock.
Sharing the link.
That is
All
so
right.
cool.
Now, for everybody out there, Arnold was nice enough to send me a nice little goodie bag with some of his cigars. And Lena, what is the one that we tried? You know what? Yep, right here it is. We tried the other day. Where the hell is it? Oh, there it is. La Floridana. Thank you, Lena. She said it twice. See, I don't listen.
Third time's a charm.
So that's the one we tried, and you know what the best part is when you light up something for the first time. We've never tried it before. You know, your expectations are like, I don't know where to go. Let's give it a shot. And both Lena and myself fired it up, and we looked at each other. We wait to see what the other one's saying, and I said,
you don't want to.
She actually came out right away. She said, I like this. I said, me too. I said, I think it's freaking very good. Very good.
Thank you.
So I wanted to try another one, but I'm like, no. I don't want to do that, because what I told everybody to do here in the room
to be nice
is actually, I waited a little bit. So I wanted to hand out some of the cigars to the people sitting around the table here, and then maybe once they get into it a little bit, we can touch what they're, you know what I mean? What are you tasting? You know, and right now I have the Florida Tampa right here. Got this
one of my favorites.
So
love that one.
And I have the Tarpon Springs.
Oh yeah, that's my I call that one the camel, like camouflage, because of all the different wrappers on it.
Oh, I love it.
And you know, funny thing about that one is it's got the silly looking, you know, I'm not going to say the name, but the colors, the wrapper, you know, the label.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that is, you know, we made those labels years ago when my dad was alive, and I had to just recently get them reprinted again, and I was like, man, I don't know, should I can it? Should I leave it? But it's kind of got a little bit of nostalgia, so I decided to just redo them again.
Absolutely, definitely.
That's one of the old labels, so yeah.
So we got Brian Nicholas is off on the side.
Oh, there you go. That's your neighbor.
He says hello. Andy Garrett, like I told you, from over the pond. He said
my
favorite is the Florida Tampa. This is his favorite. I'm talking his favorite.
That's his favorite, yeah.
And J.R.
Love Andy. Andy, thanks for watching. Bryant too.
Yeah.
Love to have my friends on there.
He might fall asleep on us.
He's gonna fall asleep.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Is it midnight over there or past midnight? Right?
Oh God, it's past. It's past.
Yeah.
It's like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then J.R. Fox says Wanda.
Oh yeah, our buddy.
Yep, he says
that's his favorite.
Yep. So
you just sent him some the other day.
The Master at Arms is smoking that one.
So
that's my favorite. That's my first time using a Cameroon wrapper on the one. Ever.
Oh really?
Cool.
Yeah.
See,
so that was actually our PCA debut this year. And as a matter of fact, I bought this so you get to see it.
Oh wow!
That's what the inside of the box looks like. Yeah. That's the backdrop of the box.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, that is nice.
So,
isn't that cool?
Can you possibly go through the the start of Serafin, the shop, your brands? If you could enlighten us, please.
Yeah. Of course, give you like a little intro. My family goes back to Central Cuba. You know, if you throw a dart at the center of the island, the town of Santa Clara, that's where my grandfather was from. And my great-grandfather before him was from the Canary Islands. And a lot of history in Cuba from people from the Canary Islands. The Canary Islanders were the first ones to actually, cultivate the leaf and start growing tobacco in Cuba many, many years ago. So in my case, I'm the fourth generation. My son is the fifth. And, even before that, I can go back 7 generations, thank God, in my family. And my great grandfather used to grow tobacco in the Canary Islands. So, many years ago, like I said, my great grandfather, my granddad, they grew tobacco, and then granddad had his own little cigar factory in Santa Clara. And then when the revolution happened, unfortunately, that was confiscated. And a lot of people they don't really say how things went down, but in my grandfather's case, he had his little cigar factory, which in Tampa they were called, just like in Cuba, chinchal, which in Ohio is what they call Buckeye, which was a tiny little cigar shop that made its own cigars, and that's what my grandfather had. But his father grew tobacco. But interestingly enough, when the revolution happened, he used to work at the town sugar mill, which was the second, or actually the biggest industry in Cuba, was sugar and tobacco. Those were the two biggest industries. And Grandpa worked in both, right? So by the time the revolution happened, he was already kind of in his 50s, getting older, and the communists came, took over his little factory. But anyway, they took over the factory, and then his brother said, you know what, I'm going to go work for the new company, which was called Cuba Tobacco, which ultimately became Habanos S.A. And 6 months later, he got pissed off at them, and my grandfather said to his brother, he said, I guess that didn't work out too good for you, huh? He said, nah. He said, he said, I knew that was going to happen. And he said, well, these guys, they take what you build all your life, and then they want you to work for free. So, luckily enough, he was in retirement age, and he said, the hell with that. So that was a very sad ending to his cigar business, which really, I mean, he dearly, dearly loved. And, I say that I'm here today because of him and my dad and, all the generations in my family that love tobacco and love cigars.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. Well, it's kind of sad on one hand, and then so what year did you guys start the business in Florida?
But anyway, so
Okay.
my parents, they ended up, well, they were in Spain. First they went Cuba to Spain, and then Spain to New Jersey, and then Dad found himself and Mom in other businesses that they had. But he always wanted to go back to the cigar business, but timing was never really, I guess, adequate to get back into it. And anyway, back in '93, he takes me to visit my grandfather in Cuba, and Grandpa was already kind of old, and he was sick, had his own problems, medically and stuff. But he was still making his own cigars, him and my other uncle. So I went down there, and we're just sitting in the living room of the house in Santa Clara, and they're making these little, like, mareva size. And I was like 14 years old, and I said, "Wow, Grandpa, I think that's the coolest thing ever." But let me backtrack a minute before that. Union City, New Jersey, which is where I grew up at the time, back in, like, the '80s, was a very Cuban little town in northern New Jersey. And believe it or not, we had about 3 or 4 cigar shops in town. And one of the last people to make cigars there was a friend of ours who I supplied him just up until the end. He just passed away last year. But the real famous person to come out of there was Rolando Reyes. You guys probably remember Rolando with Puros Indios, and he was a friend of our family as well. And anyway, so as a little kid, I was always really captivated to go to his shop and see him make cigars and everything. And then for me to go later to Cuba and see my grandfather doing it, I was like, you know what? I was only 14 years old. I told Dad, I said, Dad, we got to get back into the family business, man. This is really like what I want to do. And I was like, he was like, really? I go, yeah. I'm 14 years old, and I'm telling my dad this. He must have thought I was crazy, to be honest.
Yeah.
But he thought I was crazy anyway, so that wasn't far from the truth. But anyway, years later, to answer your question, my mother passed away in 2003, and unfortunately, she was on dialysis for a long time, and he just could not commit to being involved in the business. And after she passed away, he told me at the funeral, he said, you know what, son? He goes, I took care of Mom and everything we had to do, and now I want to help you, and I want to do what you. Do you really want to do it? I said, yeah. And then we started the shop here in 2005, so it's almost 20 years already.
Wow.
We've been doing it
That
ever
is
since.
amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
That's it.
And he helped me. He helped me for a very long time. I lost Dad in almost 2019 in December, so it'll be 5 years this year.
I think it's close to the same thing here. Yeah, for me, same thing.
Really?
I think it was 2019. I think it was because it was before COVID. And then
like right before COVID, right?
Yeah. So,
and this cigar that I'm smoking tonight, I made in honor of him.
Oh, we have that.
Don Ramon.
Oh,
Thankfully
Yeah,
46.
that's in there. That's in
yeah,
there.
that's in here. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, we
That's the
smoking
one
it.
Boston Jimmy was smoking too.
Here
It's
it
a
is.
very mild cigar, but there it is. Yeah, there it is. It's a Connecticut wrapper, but that was Dad's favorite smoke, and he loved the Connecticut wrapper, and
Aw.
he liked the double Corona size because he'd wear his Cuban Guayabera shirt and put it in his pocket, and he just loved the cigar. So I
Absolutely.
Now,
figured when it came time to make
the,
it,
the,
this is what I wanted to make for him.
the cigars that you have, you sent me this, which is awesome because I got this, look at everything and identify everything. Now, people throughout the states or wherever can, get a hold of you, and order them. Correct? That's
Yeah, we have a website which I can proudly say Boston Jimmy's wife Diane did a great job on the website. So thank you
Wow.
very much, Diane, if you're watching today. Yeah.
Aw, sweet.
Sad
nice.
news, she's retiring though. Sad for me. I'm
Yeah,
happy for her
she
though.
she retired. Yes,
But
unfortunately,
she did Boston Jimmy. She said she would still help me if needed her though. So
she will.
thank God. God bless. Tell her I said thank you.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, they can order any cigars that they want from us, and we're already finding our way into several retailers across the country. So I'm very honored about that. Different places of the country do very well with our stuff, and I'm really happy to have strong partners and stuff. And little by little, we keep going. It's tough times right now, challenging, but little by little, we continue to get them out there. That's the name of the game, right?
right now, how many shops do you have, Arnold?
Myself personally,
Yes.
just two stores. I have a shop here, and then I have a small one that I was at today, which is where my son works, and that's kind of like our little warehouse. So it's
Right.
where we ship all of our orders from, wholesale too, because like I said, we're doing a lot of wholesale these days as well.
Nice.
Awesome. Awesome. So I
Yeah.
want to hear the story about you meeting Carlito.
Oh my God, yeah. So I wanted to hear about the story of how you got Carlito to be your best man. That was cool as hell.
You first, and
Yeah,
then
you
you
go
can
first, and I'll.
Okay, so my story of Carlito, let's see, just about that time, 2005. I don't know if you're familiar with a brand called Flor de Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Okay, so Yadi and her dad, they're like family to me, right? And
Oh,
I
we
like
love
to say
Yachty.
her dad, yeah, Yadi's the best, and they're kind of, he's pretty much retired, so Yadi's the face of the company. But back in the early 2000s, I was living in Miami, and my kids were born down there in Miami. And then we decided to move up here because I had a lot of family here in the Tampa area. And of course, Tampa is a cigar city, so this is where I wanted to be. But anyway, back in 2005, which is it's crazy, it's going to be about 20 years already. We went. I went with them to the RTDA back then, not the PCA, the RTDA.
Mhm.
And Carlito's always been somebody that I always admired, and we had never really had a chance to meet. And I remember going to see him and Don Carlos, and went up to the booth and we just started talking. I said, your history, my history, it's the same, man. It's like my grandfather, both of them were cigar makers on my dad's side, my mom's side. One of them had fighting roosters. His father did, or his grandfather Arturo did too. And it was just a really great moment in my life, to be honest with you. And I remember Don Carlos standing with me there for, God, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And there was people, of course, they're always busy. And he started bringing out old pictures, an old album that he had. And then they got Cuban coffee, and we were there bullshitting, and it was a magical time. And I got to say, basically 20 years later, Carlito and I are still dear friends. And, I'm very honored to have his friendship and his mentoring because he always gives me great advice.
Oh yeah.
Especially with like a lot of these old brands that I brought back, like the one you're smoking, Florida Tampa, is an old Tampa brand, and he's got Florida Ybor City, and he's got other brands. So when I did this brand, he was very supportive and on board with me doing it. So
That's awesome.
what else can it? I mean, the caliber of the person he is. I don't even have to tell you.
Oh yeah.
He's just
Yeah,
first class.
he's we've talked about him. Ever even before the wedding. Everyone talks about him with the highest respect, the love,
Oh yeah,
just
absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely.
He's just, and a lot of us, Jimmy was at the wedding. Everybody here was at the wedding, and it was
God, I
just
wish I would have gone, man.
Dimitri was there, and
That's so cool.
it was when he showed up to the wedding, it was awesome. And like I said, we thought he
Awesome.
was just going to leave afterwards. Hey guys, I did my thing. John, I'm your best man. I got to go because you figure this guy's busy as hell. And then we were doing an after party at the El Cortez, and he walked up to me and he's like, "Hey, I'll see you at the El Cortez." And we're like, "Holy shit!" Like he's going, and he hung out with us for like Jimmy was like 3 extra hours, 4 extra hours. He was there
having a good time,
having a blast, listening to music. How about Michael Nugent, the lounge singer that we had? You know what I mean? It's like
it was.
He's all about that, man.
It was just like old.
Oh yeah, he loved that.
The music, and like I said, and he went around and talked to everybody, and it was hey, how's it going?
That's how he is.
And
I can't believe I missed this, man. I found out the next day, and I'm like, holy shit, I should have been there. That would have been so cool.
Yeah, well, we told everybody, you know, hey, listen, now we know that a lot, a lot of people came up afterwards and said, hey, I'm so sorry I missed it. And it's like, no, we understood fully because people are there for business. You know, you got to wine and dine. You got to hang out with certain people. And it's like, you know, like Eric Espinoza, I busted his balls because, you know, he's like, you know, bro, sorry, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I gotta have dinner with Guy Fieri. I said, well, fucking bring him. I said, what the fuck?
Yeah, bring Guy Fieri too, right? What the hell? He's actually really cool. I got to meet him last year. He was very cool.
Yeah, so I mean, we had a blast though. It was a great freaking time, and you know,
that is so cool.
We loved it. But enough about me.
What a great way.
And Lena, so go ahead, Candy.
But you know what? Let me just say this in closing with Carlito.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy. I don't know if he's watching or not, but I don't have to tell you. You know that. If he gives you his word is as good as gold. And if he says he's coming, he's coming. Like last year, we did a little shindig at my store, and he called me out of the blue because I've been bugging him to come visit me for years. You know, because he comes into Tampa, he's doing his meetings and his stuff, and he's always very busy. So I'm always like, dude, come to Tarpon Springs because I'm only about 23 miles from like his offices, headquarters. Yeah. But he's always very busy. So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. And years ago, when he had his own little band in Tampa, which was called Pieces, because he was a musician too. Mm-hmm. He used to perform in Tarpon Springs. He told me right across the street from where my store is. There's an old restaurant. It's not functioning right now, but it used to be the biggest Greek restaurant in town. It was called Papa's. And he used to go there and do weddings and stuff back in the 70s. So anyway, I'm like, dude, look, I'm right across the street from Papa's. You got to come visit. He's like, I promise you, Papa. You know, he's always Papa, I promise you I'm going to go. And last year, it just made a year. Last August, he called me and he said, listen, what are you doing on, next Tuesday? I said, I don't know. Why? He's like, I'm thinking about coming to visit you. I said, well, then I'm gonna be here. What do you mean?
I'll be here.
I'm gonna be here. Dude, I'm gonna fucking be here, right? So I said, so like, how big do you want to do this? You know? Nah, just call a few people. Something small. Okay, no problem. So then he calls me. I don't know if it's the next day or a little while later. He says, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do this as big as you want. I said, really? He goes, yeah. Oh my God. So here I am putting announcements all over the, Facebook and social media and I filled the place up, man. We did it. I only had 1 week to make a party, and I had musicians. I had like Cuban poetry and food and dance, and it was great. It was really, and I had so many great friends. Yavi came, Belkis came, Cynthia. Oh my God, Cynthia came. I hadn't seen Cynthia in a long time.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I was really honored to have, and he brought his whole sales staff. It was an honor, a real honor to have him.
That is cool. we knew we could not let that cat out of the bag because then the wedding.
That was so cool.
Yeah, so that was a surprise. So Carlito, if you're listening, we love you and thank you for all your support with JSU.
Well, so how did that happen, Johnny? Tell me about that. Did you just ask him
Well, yeah, there was a gentleman named Kevin that was going to be my best man, and unfortunately, his plans and our plans did not line up. Yeah. So I was just like, yeah, what the hell? I think when we were talking one night, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, because it was funny because wasn't he recently was at Famous?
Yes.
So we were hanging out with him at Famous Cigar Shop, and then we went to another shop afterwards, Tomacao, and we're hanging there.
Oh, yeah. Franklin's place.
Yeah.
Right,
so we were hanging there. And then after this fell through with my best man, I said, we got to make a splash. Why don't we? I'll just ask Carlito. He'll probably tell me I'm fucking nuts. But I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go for it because hey,
hell yeah, man.
I was like, the guy's great, love this guy. And then I did. I sent the message out, and I didn't hear nothing for I think it was 2 days, wasn't it? And then I got a message back. It said I would be honored, and let me know. Keep reminding me this and that. I'm standing there. I'm like staring at this fucking message for like 10 minutes. I'm like, he said yes. Yes. He said yes.
Yes, he did, and he was there with the flag.
And I'll bet you he must have been really honored. Yeah, knowing him.
Oh, he was.
Forget about it.
He kept saying this, and it was.
Carlos, his son, was on one of our Zooms recently, and Carlos said he didn't stop talking about that wedding. He just went on and on about because Elvis.
He loved that type of thing.
Elvis performed the ceremony. I mean, it was just one of those crazy, crazy weddings.
I wish I was there. That was very cool.
Oh God, you would have had a blast, and even the after party, like I said. So. He
sure.
He said yes, and like you said, he lived up to his word. And
no question
he
about it.
was like to the till my last breath on earth, he'll always have a special place with me. You know what I mean? He's my best man. What the hell?
That's so cool. That is so cool. And you know something? Let me just say this too. I got friends of mine, and I know you do too, that you call them, and the first thing they'll say to you, you're like, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh my God, I'm so busy. People are so busy." Hey, listen. You don't have to tell me, man. We all know how busy everybody is in this world, right?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
But I can always say that no matter how busy Carlito is, he's never too busy to pick up the phone or send a message just to see how you're doing. And I personally am very grateful for that,
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said,
he's the busiest guy that I know, just like you said. Busiest guy I know, but he's never too busy to send a message or pick up the phone. And that's what happened really with us because after my dad passed away, I remember he called me. And, we had this really amazing conversation. We were talking for, I don't know, probably close to an hour. He called me from the Dominican Republic, and he's telling me stories of his dad, and he knew how sad I was, And I got to say that after that moment, we've really become more close, Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And that, like I said, that's one of those things, because whenever, whether me and him talked or whenever, he sponsored JSU for a month, and for the month of July, and he was just like, whatever you need, let me know. You know what I mean? Absolutely. If you need and we told him we need this, and this. You got it. And he gave us, I forget the gentleman's name that he told us to get a hold of, and this guy's like, he said, "Junior's on board. Whatever you want, you got." I'm like, holy shit! I had carte blanche.
Isn't that great?
And oh my God, it was like. I felt like it was part of the fucking family. It's like, hey, this is John.
You are now.
Johnny Fuente.
You are now.
That's right. There you go.
Oh God!
But you know what? He is the epitome of the industry. I feel like he is the godfather of the industry. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say that he just really gives a shit. He really gives a shit about the little guy. He cares about us, and he roots for us.
About you, Johnny, the little guy.
Yeah,
not
short
size,
me me totally included. Like I'm the little guy in the industry. Jimmy will tell you, but I'm honored. He cares.
Oh,
and I'm not gonna get into it, but there's a lot of people that don't feel the same way, but I know that he does. So.
Awesome. So back to Arnold. We got a little off there. Thanks for those stories, by the way. Now, I'm just gonna say something, and I don't think you did 3 years cutting sugar cane.
Oh my God, that was my dad. Yeah, my dad. So
Yeah,
let
tell
me
us that.
backtrack again.
Yeah,
We'll go
please.
back to
That
the
was
story.
so
So
interesting.
who shared that?
I
She
shoot,
is
dog,
like
call
she
me.
is like a special investigator. So
Okay, all right, all right.
She probably saw the interview I did with you.
We talked about that, right?
No, I did not.
I know we
I
talked
did
about a lot
not
of stuff that
actually,
day.
Yeah,
Father
we
Jimmy.
did.
I didn't. Okay,
Yeah,
it just
he leads into the.
caught my ear. I won't say where I
Well,
heard it.
anyway, so yeah, like back in the day, just like here, like now I got. Let me just say this too, like there's nothing wrong with being a cigar maker. It's like my history, my passion. I love it. But no, nowadays, guys, they want to make cigar making this really intricate thing, right? In my case, it was my family history. Just like back in the day here, just like in
Hmm.
Cuba, a baker it was a very decent profession. You were a baker, you were a shoemaker. These were the professions, right? Well, back then, being a cigar maker, my father or my grandfather, he told my dad, he said, "Listen, I want you to go to school. I want you to get a degree." This is back in the '60s, right? So he became an accountant. Not because he didn't want him to do cigars, but he wanted him to get an education. You know how it is. You always want the next
Hmm.
generation to
yeah,
do well.
yep.
So anyway, so he goes to what was called at the time the School of Commerce in Santa Clara, and he got his degree in accounting. And my mother's side of the family, they were already in Jersey since the '50s, since the Batista years. Because even though Batista was, he wasn't that bad, I guess you could say, but he was still a dictator, and people still wanted to live better. A lot of them. So my mother's side of the family, there were those people. They said, well, you know what? Let's go to the States and then just get regular jobs. They were in Jersey working in factories. So by the time the Castro thing broke out,
Any whiskey.
my dad basically was working in an
Tell,
accounting office
tell
in
her that
Santa Clara,
she could take my drink.
and
Oh no, yeah.
he decided he had enough, right? Him and my mother and my sister, who was older than me, they said, you know what? We want to get the hell out of here. So they went to the Spanish embassy, and this is how Cuba was at the height of the revolution or whatever. He went to the Spanish embassy. They said, look, your grandparents were from Spain, so we can give you a passport right away. You guys can get the hell out of here and go to Madrid. And he's like, okay, cool. So yeah, he got his Spanish passport. He was able, to get that going. When he went to see his boss in the accounting office, he said, look, this is how you had to approach it. You couldn't say to the government, screw you, I don't want to deal with you guys. No, no. It was like very polite. Look, I want to be reunited with my wife's side of the family. They live in the United States. So here's my resignation and here's my documentation showing that I'm going to go to Spain. And then the guy who was, of course, a communist, he said, well, we can't sign off on that. He goes, you have to pay your debt back to the revolution. I mean, it sounds like a movie. My
Yeah,
poor
right.
dad hated sugar. So my dad said, well, how do I do that? He said, well, you see this machete? He goes, here you go. He goes, you got to go get sugarcane. So they sent him to a forced labor camp, Hayfield, not far from where he lived. And he was doing that for 3 years, 3 more years to get the hell out of Cuba, man.
Wow.
So
Jesus.
have you ever seen a sugarcane plant? Have you ever seen it?
Yeah,
Probably
yeah,
not,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You've seen it?
Oh,
Yeah.
I've seen.
It's like a razor, man. Like that's why they always wear long sleeves because it's like a razor, and it'll get you, and it'll just cut you, and you're like, oh my god, it's that sharp. So he was always getting hurt, and his arms were all messed up and everything. And after 3 years doing that, then he was finally able to leave Cuba, go to Spain, and then after Spain, then come to New Jersey and be reunited with my mom's side of the family. But I'll tell you, man, he had a rough time, with that whole thing, that whole situation. He was very
Yeah,
bitter about it, and rightfully so,
yeah.
rightfully so.
Our,
All I
our,
can say is God bless America, man. Thank God, the
absolutely.
freedoms that we have here. People take it for granted. I'm very grateful. I was born here and everything, and I love the United States and the struggles that not only
Absolutely.
our family but so many families from everywhere, generations, come here and be in this country. So
Absolutely. So, we always ask this question, and we're going to ask you, who would you like to smoke a cigar with?
Whether it's
boy, that's
famous,
a tough one.
family, Pat, not with us now, or uh, and it doesn't have to be one person. If there's like one or two people that come to mind,
It would probably right now. I'd probably say my grandfather. I'd love to smoke with him again.
I
Because I was
figured
only
after
14 years
hearing
old when
all,
I got to smoke.
af- I figured that'd be your answer after hearing your stories about,
Oh my God.
you know, him rolling a cigar for you at 14 years old. That's pretty.
I wish I still had some of those. You know that? I got back to Florida, man. I just started handing them out to all my friends and shit, man. I wish I would have had one of those. You know?
A
I got pictures though.
14-year-old passing out cigars, like
Oh yeah.
candy cigars. No, those aren't candy cigars. Those are real cigars.
Now let me just say this: if there was another person, of course my dad, which we smoked a lot of cigars together, thank God. But somebody that I think would have been cool to smoke with, Winston Churchill.
Oh yeah.
That would have been so cool.
A lot of people say that. I think
Bet.
I think that would be the top name that people have said on the show. It's very
I can see
common,
that.
very common for people to say that.
I mean, I heard that he was unbelievable when he was staying with FDR in the White House. Like he wake up in the he wouldn't even go to bed, man. He'd have FDR up for hours, and then FDR would just go to his room, and he'd be like in the war room or whatever, drinking scotch and smoking cigars. I mean, it sounds like my type of guy, man. You know, the stories must have been priceless.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the most.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
by far.
definitely. Who
So
said Jesus? Do you remember? Somebody
I
wanted to
forgot
smoke a cigar
yeah.
with Jesus. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it was like,
Oh, my
God
God.
bless you. If Jesus wanted to take the time out, you know what I mean?
Yes,
But I mean,
for
who
you.
else do you want that could turn water into wine? He's.
There you go.
That's right.
You know what I mean, I'm sure he
There
could
you
do bourbon if you wanted it. You know what I mean? You just got to ask him.
God, George
He
Burns.
could turn oak leaves
George
into
Burns. That's a
tobacco
good
and
one.
roll it.
I'm telling you, right?
He can do it all.
Like I said, there was all kind. Like there's a lot of sports figures. Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
A lot of. I think a lot of it is personal stuff. Like I always said, my dad, and there's a lot of people who are more family than
Right.
people who are famous.
Yeah, I don't have anybody in my family to smoke a cigar with, so.
So, gotta ask you. No, I think you mentioned it. Out of your whole line, which is your favorite?
Wow, that's a tough one. You know what? I'm gonna steal a page out of Carlito's playbook when he says that too. I think they're all my babies, man. They're all my babies. You know. It all
Like
depends
picking your
on what
favorite
time
kid.
of the day. Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, like the Juan de Fuca. I don't know if you've tried this one yet.
No, not yet.
There's a cigar that, like I said, this was our debut this year at the PCA. Cameron wrapper, first time we've ever used it. I'll tell you the truth. When I did this blend originally, I had to tone it down because it was very strong, and I didn't care for it myself personally. And I did not blend that cigar for my palate. I did not do it for my palate, but I wanted to come up with something that was a little different. And now I can tell you that it's really grown on me, and I do enjoy it. But it all depends, like what time of the day, man. Like right now, I'm really enjoying the hell out of my dad's cigar. Sometimes I'll go to Juan de Fuca, Florida, Tampa. I love those on a daily basis because middle of the day I want something a little stronger. How is it, by the way? What do you think about it?
Which one? The
The
Florida
Florida
Tampa?
Tampa.
I like
Yeah.
it. I like it a lot. It's for me. It's a solid medium. You know what I mean?
Solid medium.
It has a great taste. Like it has that little bit of woodiness, a little bit of I don't want to say dark chocolate. That's not it's a little earthy, but good. You know what I mean? I like that. It has a little bit of cedary.
Did the bitterness go away a little bit? Did it start a little bitter?
The bitter. I'm right here right now.
Oh,
At
yeah.
first there was a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's excellent.
You're probably hitting the sweet spot right now, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
So back to the cigar here that you made for your dad. This was in honor of your dad, correct?
Yep.
So,
That's it right there. That's the Don
holding-
Ramon 1942.
I'm holding it up right next to your face, and I'm going to tell you what you're going to look like when you're older.
You think so? Thank you.
Yeah, seriously, it's
Very
My
handsome.
dad.
I like it. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He was a hoot, man. I wish you guys could have met him. People still come into the shop asking for him, man. It's been almost 5 years. What an honor, they love. And I'm talking about from all over the country, right? Because Tarpon Springs, if you guys haven't been, the invitation is obviously there. It's a tiny little town. It's a little sponge diving village. Greeks
What is
mostly.
the
Yeah.
sponge thing?
Yeah,
That's what
everyone
everybody's
says
talking
that.
about.
Yeah,
Sponge.
there is even Sponge Museum in Tarpon Springs.
Sponge
Yes,
museum.
there is. Yep.
Like
So
sea
what happened was
sponges
in
or kitchen sponges?
no, like natural
Oh,
sponges. I wish I would have had one here to show you guys. Are harvested
Yeah,
out there in the Gulf.
yeah. They have sponge diving tours, so they take you on the boat, and those Greek guys,
Yes.
they dive for sponges. They
They
have
dive
a
for
lot of
sponges.
shops where they sell all kind of sponges and all
Oh, yeah.
kind of gift shops, excellent Greek food, big Greek cathedral.
Unbelievable. It's the
Wow.
biggest Greek community in the United States per capita, per square mile. It's a tiny little town, but yeah, I mean, back in like the 20s, the Greeks started coming over to Tarpon Springs from the islands, and they brought the whole Greek diving with the helmet and everything. And here's the funny thing about it, right? We were gonna go to Ybor City, right? Because I mean, I always joke about it. I go, where does a Cuban go? Here, Ybor City, right?
yeah, right.
Because that's where the cigars are. Right? So a friend of my dad's who also passed away, he said, listen, because I want to take you to this place. I go, where? He goes, this little town, tiny little town, it's Greek. And I said, is that Tarpon Springs? He goes, how do you know about it? I said, man, years ago, I was a little kid and I remember seeing an article with the sponge divers and the helmets. And I just thought it was the coolest thing, like you're a little kid, you see this. And
Wow.
here, we went in there and they were very nice to me. They rented the store and I've been there ever since, man. And it was all because it was just a choice, accidental thing. And there we are. But it's proven to be pretty good because I always say, the Ybor City's like on the other side. I'm on the other side of town because like Clearwater's over here, Ybor's on the other side. We're kind of in a good location. So,
Okay.
yeah, because like I'm like right on the coast, and then like Jimmy says, Route 19 is the artery, the main artery that goes north to south on the coastline.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
like there's Clearwater, and then there's a little town called Dunedin, and then it's us right next to Dunedin.
Okay. I've been to
Yeah,
Tampa a couple
the
times.
medium is all Scottish.
What's that?
Dunedin is a Scottish town.
Right, that's the Scottish town. Exactly.
So
It has its own little theme.
Dimitri's from Russia, but he knows everything about Tarpon Springs and.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, they're Orthodox too. The Greeks are just like the Russians, Orthodox.
I spent about half a year in the area, mostly in Clearwater and all the surrounding areas. So I know that part of Florida very well.
Yeah, you're very familiar with it. Sure.
Yeah, and Honeymoon Island is my favorite beach in Florida.
Mine too. I love that place.
Wow.
I'll probably go there next week or so. I love going there.
Wow. And
That's
now
it's actually one of the top 10 beaches in the United States is Honeymoon Island, and it's like right down the road from us.
wonder how many people go on their honeymoon there. That'd be a cool place to go on your honeymoon. My goodness.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a state.
Honeymoon?
It's a state park. And the funny thing is, if you go there, they have like a little ferry that takes you to another island called Caladesi Island. So you can like take a little boat ride and they put Jimmy Buffett on. It's like perfect. It's a good time.
Because eventually we got to get my, Steve, my friend's, I don't say my best man, best friend when I was younger. He went to the wedding also. Dimitri, you probably, Jimmy, you met him. Steve. They live down in Sarasota. Yeah, Rachel. Sarasota, Bradenton area.
Beautiful area. Yeah, so that's like about an hour.
I loved it down there.
Love that area.
Eventually when we get down there, we're going to have to,
Man, you go down to Bradenton, that's all Pittsburgh Pirates area down there, man. Because of the training camp, Yeah. But you know what? This area here, we got the Phillies right down the road from us.
Oh God, I'm a Mets fan.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, the Mets are on Jimmy's side, Port St. Lucie, so that's not too far from
Yes. Well, next, this is what I'm firing up now.
Juan de Fuca. So let me tell you the funny story about that one. Like I said, here's the label.
Oh yeah.
Right? I should have brought a box, but I had the label here, so I just wanted to show you guys. So it's another Tampa historic brand, and I don't know if he has smoked it or not, but I can honestly tell you that cigar number 1 of Juan de Fuca I gave to Carlito as a gift.
Aww.
First one we ever made. And you know what? There's a reason for that, right? So Jimmy will probably tell you if you guys don't know already. I'm a big history nut. I love the history of the tobacco, the old labels, the cigar labels, Tampa's history. Very passionate about it. And I remember when I saw this label for the first time, I just thought it was great. But on top of that, the name was so like funny. I mean, Juan de Fuca. So Jose Blanco calls it Juan the fucker, and
Yeah,
him and Carlito are always breaking my balls about it. Anyway, so I called Carlito and I said, Carlito, do you remember Juan de Fuca? He says to me, he says, in classic Carlito, he says, man, he goes, I sure as hell don't remember my fucking phone number, but I sure as hell remember Juan de Fuca, made by the Morgan Cigar Company back in the day. And the building it still stands in West Tampa. It was made by Morgan Cigar Company, and what I've been able to research, we went to Alaska last year with my family, which was an amazing trip. Had a great time. And when you leave, or when you leave Seattle and you're sailing up to Alaska, you go through the Juan de Fuca Strait. So I had already had the idea of making the cigar, and we're sailing right through there, and I'm like, wow, how cool is that, right? So the connection was this company called the Morgan Cigar Company made the cigars here in Tampa, but they were sold mostly in the Pacific Northwest, in Seattle, and there was a little shop in a town called Bremerton out there in Washington State. And I've been able to get all these old pictures together, and it's just really really cool. But again, it's just another classic Tampa label, and that's kind of what we've been doing for the last 5 years, pretty much, is reviving a lot of the old Tampa labels. And
Awesome.
I really enjoy doing it. There it is. Yeah. First time using Cameroon wrapper too. And I'll tell you, that one has been very popular. I didn't make that one with my palate, per se, but it's grown on me, and people they love it, man. They love it.
I think this is
I'm
the
getting
one
really
that
great reviews.
J.R. Fox likes too. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember, Jimmy. What did you rate that one at? I know you gave it a really good rating.
The Juan de Fuca?
Yeah,
I gotta look it up. Hold on.
I know you like that one a lot too.
I did.
All right, I think I'm almost done.
That one is time to go. Time to retire.
This is what
Holy
I'm,
shit,
this
here,
is
let
what
me
I was
hand me that.
smoking.
That's hers. This is Lena's. Look at that.
Wow, all the way to the nub
Smoking
there.
it down to the nub.
Holy shit. Where's the
94.
A 94 rating. Thank you.
That was a 94 rated cigar. That is an awesome cigar.
Thank you. We might come up with a different size down the road, but we did a Toro size because everybody.
It's always
wants a Toro.
fun to see what kind of expressions you can make with different Vitolas with the same blend, because they're going to taste a little different.
Yeah, they changed so much. Yeah, you're so right about that. But I don't know, man, because I really wanted to do something for next year. But I think, with probably that blend, to be honest with you. But I'm probably going to put that in the back burner for now, because I'm actually working on one now. Remember our buddy, the captain, El Capitan? Remember Jimmy, the captain?
Yeah.
How can we forget the captain? So I'm in the process of making a cigar for him. I haven't finished it yet. I hope to have it out by next year. That's going to be a really interesting blend. It's going to be a San Andres wrapper. So we're going to go full body with that. So,
And what's the captain? Who's the captain?
Okay, so the captain, Jimmy got to meet him. He was a little funny, right, Jimmy? He was a little serious, I think, when you met him. I don't know if you were intimidated. So let me tell you about the captain. I wish I could put a picture up so you guys could see him, but he was basically like my right-hand man for more than 15 years. He was a Bay of Pigs guy. He was in the Cuban, Bay of Pigs invasion. He was a CIA guy. He was in the U.S. Army. He was like a soldier of fortune, I guess you could say. But he was the guy that if I needed to do anything, I'd call him. I'd say, listen, I always joked about it. I go, if I had to go like kill somebody, I'd call the captain and say, Captain, I need to get rid of this thing. I'm going to go take care of that guy right now for you. He was that guy. Luckily enough, we didn't have to whack anybody, but if we would have, he would have been the guy, But he was a really interesting dude, man. So we're gonna make a cigar with him dressed up in like Cuban military uniform, and the label's gonna look really cool. And his kids, they live over in Long Island, so hopefully we'll do a debut up there, and they're gonna come and we're probably gonna do something in Jersey now. We have a few shops up there, and
well, you're going to New Orleans, right?
Yeah. If everything works out, I got my booth spot already and everything. So I'm not ready yet. If anybody says they're ready for New Orleans, I mean, I'm still months away, but hopefully crunch time will
You
come
got
soon.
time. You got time.
Yeah, we're looking.
I know.
Because I've been to New Orleans a few times. Lena's never been there, so she's really
Great
looking
town.
forward to it. So yeah, we're gonna have a blast, and we're definitely gonna have to hook
Dirty,
up.
dirty
They've
New
opened up a lot of
Orleans.
great shops there. Let me tell you, because back in the day, I mean, there was a little cigar factory there called Cigar Factory in New Orleans. They were probably the most popular place for a long time. But now, my understanding is there's a whole plethora of places now.
Guess who just jumped on the live? Take a wild guess.
Carlito? No shit. Are you serious?
Yeah.
He's
That's
off
great.
on the live.
Where is Professor?
Let me say hi to my brother, man.
Is it, yeah.
Professor
Where is
Tarico.
Tarico, am I saying it correct?
Oh, Professor Tareco. That's another joke of ours. There's a clown in Miami, and his name is Tareco. So I can't figure out if he's Tareco or if I'm Tareco or if Jose Blanco is. Oh man,
Well, if he
there's a lot
said
of ball breaking
professor, it
around.
sounds like it's Jose.
Jose, yeah.
Oh my
Jose,
God.
the professor. He's asleep. I told him, I said, "Are you going to join us tonight?" He's like, "What are you crazy? I'm going to be asleep." I go, "You don't fucking sleep, man. Come on,
Yeah,
join
no
the show
shit.
anyway."
Yeah. Yeah, because he always says that. Fucking Jose is like, oh yeah. He goes because when Puente was our sponsor, that was the funny thing is like we had Jose on, and he's like, oh don't worry. He goes, I don't sleep. I'm like, okay. I was
He's
like,
got like vampire blood. I think he's like a vampire.
oh my God, he was a trip, and he was just and you know what? And then who? Yeah, he said Jose Blanco. Yeah, he just
Let
said
me
Jose
tell you,
Blanco.
when he talks to a professor, he goes, "Let me tell you, man. Let me tell you." That's always what he
Well,
always
the
says.
other
Let me
one,
tell you something.
which didn't Carlito come on when Jose was
Yes,
our
yes.
guest? So
No.
we get, a lot of time, like if you look on the Zoom right here, Philly D is off on the side, and Stuart is off. They don't show their faces, which is so. Howdy Doody and his 2 cents. So this person comes in. It's
Off screen.
Off screen says numbnuts.
Yeah.
Numbnuts 2. Numbnuts 2.
Numbnuts
So
one and
I'm
numbnuts
like, all
two.
right. So I was like,
It's a
some of
New
these
York
guys-
statement.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, so I'm like, all right, we have numbnuts in the house. I didn't know who the fuck it was. He said, go Johnny. So this fucking numbnuts comes in. I'm like, we're having a great time and with Jose and all of a sudden the camera kicks on. Who's in it? Fucking Carlito. I was like, you come in under fucking numbnuts? Seriously? I was like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, because that was his name from the Meet the Professor show when they were doing the meet, which I was on. About 3 years ago.
I didn't pick up
Honored to be
because
on there.
I've seen it back. It was after the fact then that I learned that. But at first, like I said, some people change their names. They come in as this, they come in as that. But
So it's funny because I thought Carlito was on here earlier because I have to tell you, a lot of my questions came from him today because I asked him to help me out
really?
with the interview
Oh,
today.
wow.
So earlier there was iPhone 3 or something on here. I don't know who that was, but they were off screen. So the whole time y'all were talking, I thought it was Carlito, and I thought he was going to pop in. I don't know if that was him earlier. I have no idea.
It could have been.
He's on the side on Facebook Live.
You know what I mean? And like it's funny because there's the ongoing joke, which I don't know if you've seen that. I go live literally at night Lena came
Oh yeah,
up
I've seen that. I popped in there a few times.
Yeah, so it's hashtag every night live. So I'm going live, and I do it sometimes on the weekends in the morning. And Carlito comes on, he goes like, yeah, he goes, I get up in the morning, I'm in the bathroom on the toilet, and you're going live. I'm like, well, Carlito, I'm glad and he goes, yeah, I watch you on the toilet. I was like, well, I'm happy that it could be your laxative. I was like, okay.
Make sure he washes his hands before he touches the phone.
He is.
Carlito
awesome.
loves, man. He's always on, and he's always viewing everybody's show. I mean, he's always involved, man. He is the godfather of our industry, bro.
Well,
there's no question about it.
He says, keep the toilet stuff out of this. Carlito, absolutely, we'll keep it out, even though we spilled beans already. But
Even though Elvis died on the toilet. Elvis died on the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about Elvis. And he's a huge Elvis fan, too.
Well, yeah, we all love
And
Elvis.
so am I. So are you, right? The king? I mean,
yeah,
my God.
absolutely.
Oh, God.
Absolutely. And we had an awesome Elvis doing the wedding.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Carlito loved it. I mean, Carlito
I wonder
loved
if Carlito knows about Colonel Parker's connection to Tampa.
Oh, I don't know that.
Did you know that story?
I don't.
So I found this out just recently, right? Colonel Parker, the agent for Elvis, lived in Temple Terrace here in Tampa for many, many years.
Oh.
And he was actually, I couldn't believe it. He was actually, I think he was Norwegian, I think he was.
No, I think he was Dutch. Was he Dutch?
Was
something
he Dutch?
like that.
Okay,
Yeah, it was something off the wall
Norwegian.
like that. And he could not leave the country.
Right. But then, believe it or not, he came, or I think he was a stowaway, came into the States. Then he joined the Army. And then I think he was either stationed here in Tampa or something. And then, anyway, he ended up living here in Temple Terrace. And there's a famous picture of Elvis and the Colonel buying a Cadillac here in Tampa.
Oh,
so I don't know if Carlito's seen that picture. Yeah.
That's cool.
One of the many Cadillacs.
Yeah, he
said, there's my Prince of Wales. Go ahead.
That's a great cigar.
Well, like I said, it's we are all Glenn.
By the way, thank you, Arnold.
Glenn,
don't mention it. Enjoy it.
Oh, I'm already.
He was smoking.
What was he? Was it this one?
No. He did.
Oh, you did the Juan de Fuca too. What'd you think? Spicy, excellent. Okay. So thumbs up.
Let me tell you about that one. The Prince of Wales that she's smoking. So in Spanish, the name of that cigar is Príncipe de Gales, which in English translates to Prince of Wales, right? So that was the cigar brand that Mr. Ybor from Ybor City brought from Cuba. He took it from Cuba. He founded it in Cuba in 1853. Then he took it over to Key West, 1869, because he was supporting, even though he was a Spaniard by birth, he was from Valencia. He was a big supporter of Cuban freedom, independence at the time. So he grew basically out of favor, I guess, with the Spaniards. So he had to end up going to Key West, and in 1869 he took the factory there. And then, believe it or not, there was two guys, Gavino Gutierrez and Bernardino Gargol, a Cuban and a Spaniard. Who were friends of Ybor. One of them had a guava jelly business. You guys know what guava is. Famous guava. So they said, listen, there's a place that you can grow there's a place that has wild guavas. He goes, really? He goes, where's that? He goes, it's this little swampy area up there in West Central Florida. It's called Tampa. They go, really? I go, well, why don't we go down there and check it out? So they go down to Key West. Now envision this in your mind, right? They're coming down the Gulf, actually coming from New York on a steamship, stop in Key West. Mr. Ybor is like the big guy in Key West. And he hears about this idea that they're going to go check it out. And he says, well, can I come with you guys? Sure. So they come up the Gulf, they come up to Tampa, and they buy Ybor buys 40 acres from the Tampa Development Board of Tourism, I think it was, or Board of Development or something. And that became Ybor City. And at the time, the Prince of Wales was the largest cigar factory in the world. And there's pictures of famous Cuban patriot Jose Marti in front of the building, which still stands today. It's a whole block long. And it's a beautiful brick building. And that was the Prince of Wales building, yeah.
The 95. The 95 rated cigar, Arnie.
Thank you very much, Jimmy.
You definitely know your history.
Well,
it's even better than the Juan de Fuca.
Well,
you're not pronouncing it right.
According to Carlito, Juan de Fuca.
Juan de Fuca. I still remember what he told me about that. He said, I don't remember my phone number, but I sure as hell remember the Juan de Fuca.
I'll tell you what. He is a riot when he comes up with this stuff, especially when it has to, it was funny because Jose said he was going to bust my balls right? Well, he goes, Johnny, I'm gonna bust your balls.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
he did.
And, well, he did, but then I had my savior. Carlito came in and took care of that.
Best man was defending
he
you.
flipped it. He's like, oh, okay, I got Johnny's back. He had my back. He came
Those two
in.
together, man. Those two together are something.
God,
they are
it's
very
like
entertaining.
it's like Laurel and Hardy, man. Those guys. I told Jose the other day, I said, listen, I go, so Carlito had this amazing birthday party, which I was very honored to be a part of. And I said to Jose, if he did such an amazing party for his 70th, what are we going to do when he turns 80? And then Jose is like, oh, man, I don't know. I'm going to be like 85 then. I said, well, we got to go, right? We were joking about that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
That
Jimmy,
was the biggest party Tampa has ever seen, ever, in the history of Tampa.
I do. I'd like to help you just a little bit with the interview, because one thing we didn't talk about much is Arnie's shop. And can I share?
Sure.
Go for it.
Share. All right, we're good. All right, so let me go right here. So this is the article I wrote back in 21. Okay, on their thing. So this is the side of their shop. When you drive in, there's a little parking lot on the side right over here.
Yeah.
All right. And then, so there's Arnie. This is in his shop. Now, his shop is one of the most old school cigar shops you are ever going to go into. All right. So it's eclectic with all this crazy stuff just hanging all over the place here. You know, old telephones, old photos, a lot of history. The Tarpon Spring diver here that dives dives for the sponges on top of the espresso machine, right?
There's Carlito there
it's
too.
Just Carlito's there too.
Bobblehead. Yeah.
All right, the bobblehead. That's right. Where you saw the bobblehead? Where's the bobble? Oh, there he is.
He's right there under the coffee.
Right there. Yeah. And then he's got this strange little mini tiki hut looking thing with all these hats and shirts. You can't smoke. You don't smoke in the shop generally, right? You actually sit outside the shop.
People are always in and out. I mean, we do sometimes, but.
He's got like a cement patio with old plastic chairs that you sit in, and you just watch the people go by. He's got a rolling table. This is when he was just starting the journey of actually transforming it from hand rolling cigars in the shop to outsourcing and working with factories to make his new blends that he's been talking about. But he has a roll. Do you still have the roller there?
Yeah. Every now and then we bring him in on the weekends and stuff,
Guy comes in, he does rolls right there.
There's my grandfather's original mold, Jimmy. If you go up right there where the press is, that was my grandfather's last mold from his little cigar factory in Cuba, which I'm very honored to have. A buddy of mine brought it back for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Absolutely amazing to walk through. And then he's got he's got his little collection here, besides his own cigars. He's got some other things that he has on the shelf. He doesn't have this huge selection, but you don't need a huge selection, right? You got what people like, and you want to smoke Serafin de Cubas most of the time anyway, right? He's got his bundles up here. All right. This is all his line that he's building. I'm sure this looks even bigger now.
Oh, yeah. It's so different now. You got to see it.
All right. And then this is when he's introducing, he walked me through and he says, this is all the stuff that he's going to be working on, right? And he kept true to his thing. He has the Tarpon Sponger, the La Floridana, the Florida Tampa, the Serafin de Cuba, all of that. And then in the back, he had an aging room, right? You still got the aging room in the back?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It's a little messy, but it's still.
And then there's the whole history, okay? Yeah. So you could talk through this history here. This is your grandfather?
That's my grandfather. Yeah, that's Don Ramon. Right. We made a cigar in his honor, which was the Don Ramon 1917.
Yep.
And there's some great pictures there.
If I open that up, I go here. You got these photos.
There's Don Pepin. Let me tell you guys a story about that. So, like many years ago, I remember I was at the RTDA, like I said, with Gonzalez, and I was with Yavi and Arnaldo, and Pepin comes up to me. He says, Serafin. He says, who was Ramon Serafin? I said, that was my grandfather. He says, man, I remember. He says, this is Don Pepin telling me. He goes, I remember when I was a little kid, your grandfather would go and buy tobacco from my family in the town of Baez. And then I went back and told Dad. He says, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, the Garcias." And then when he came here to Tampa, Dad and him, they got together, and it was just great. They got some bullshit and talked for hours, man.
That's cool.
And then over here, we've got some more of these photos here. Who's this gentleman again?
That's me. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
you with your dad, right? Or your
Me and
grandfather?
Dad, yeah, me and Dad. And then there's a bunch of old molds back there too, but they're kind of buried
Yeah,
together.
look at all of them. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I cleaned it up a little bit. It was a little messy. Cynthia came by and said, "Arnold, you got to tidy this place up. It's a mess." I said, "Well, I know. It is kind of messy, but it's got character, I guess." He was laughing and shit.
Yeah.
And this is the family heritage right here.
Yeah, there's my grandfather, the dad in the middle, which is the picture that we use for the label. If you guys recognize it.
Yeah.
And then my great grandfather on the right.
So 3 generations right there. Arnie's heir to the 4th generation. His son is the 5th generation.
I gotta get him to do some interviews, man. He's a little shy,
And then that's the end. So you can really check that out.
Share
Share
it on JSU, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I'll post this out there. So
Yeah,
everybody knows where to find them and stuff.
That was an honor that you did that for me. And
it's such an amazing shop to go visit. It's not like anything you've ever been to.
Carlito,
you know what? I joke about it. We always used to joke about it. And
Arnold,
Carlito
wrote off on his side. He said, "Wow, what an amazing, complex, complete article. A well-deserved tribute to a great historian, master blender, and the nicest down-to-earth guy you can meet." That's from right now.
My brother,
Your best man.
My best man, Mr.
Your best man.
Carlito. Oh my!
When you get a compliment like that from the Godfather of the industry, you get a compliment like that. I have no words to express how grateful.
Well, do you know what the funny thing is, Arnold, is there's a lot of, like, my sister and my brother and people, they couldn't make the trip out to Vegas, and when I told them, my best man is going to be Carlito Fuente, and they don't know cigars, they don't know anything, so I explained to them. I said, all right, the easiest way to explain Carlito Fuente on how important he is to the cigar industry is if there was a pyramid hierarchy. I said he is literally the top.
Yes.
I said absolutely. Yep. He is literally at the top. I said there is nobody above him. Yeah, but we that's how I explained Carlitos. Like, you don't get anybody higher than him. You know what I mean? In the industry.
No.
And Carlito,
and let's just say this. Yeah, for sure. You're 100% right. Let's just say, now that you're there, you're talking about him. We can only make cigars, the little guys like us, thanks to the efforts that he put together, him and Rocky and all these guys, but him particularly, the time, the resources, everything that he put together. I mean, we can't thank him enough. So,
oh my God,
he really.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
there's no words to express.
You can't.
And like he always says, the battle is not done, with the FDA and everything. But let's just enjoy the moment and thank him for everything that he's done for our industry. 100%.
Oh my God, nicest guy in the world. Absolutely.
So you keep talking about Yachty. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he is. He always jokes about it. He always says it. He's the guy that came from the little tin roof house, and he really is. He really is that guy.
Absolutely.
Never forgets his roots.
But with the pictures that Jimmy posted, I said, after I come over and I give you hugs and shit like that, I said, I think my first stop would be at your hats. I'd be like, fucking, not the cigars. I apologize. I get to the cigars after the hats. I gotta go to the hats.
We sell a lot of hats. I'll tell you, at the shop we sell a lot of hats, and I remember my dad always telling me. He said, because Carlito, the same thing. We go back and forth with the story again, but in Cuba, like the cigar makers, we always wore our hats, and like I know he gets it from his family tradition, my family too. I mean, we wore our Panama hats, which are really Ecuador hats. I don't know if you guys know the story about that, but Ecuador did not have a port to sell the hats.
This is where we're at.
Oh, look at that, man! Wow, there's everybody with their hats.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, everybody had hats.
Everybody has fucking hats.
And I think it's.
That's got to be like early 1900s, right? Has to be.
No, I think it's 18.
Even older than that.
Yeah, I think it says Teddy Roosevelt and Harry S. Truman passengers came through here.
Yeah,
1868. Dates back to 1868.
How cool is that?
Yeah, did their whistle stops, as they called them back in the day, where they came in, stood in the back of the caboose, and
how cool is that?
Had a great time.
Had a great time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Talked to everybody.
So what do you think of the Juan de Fuca? Now it's a little underway.
I'm going to agree with J.R. Fox. He says it's complex. It is, and it is. I'll tell you what.
A little bit,
it is. Yeah. It is solid. It is excellent. I'm loving it.
Thank you.
You know what? I want to say right now.
What do you think of the Prince of Wales?
I'm loving this. That's what I was about to say. This is fantastic.
Very mild, right? Very smooth, very mild. Yeah.
Very smooth. Very smooth.
I'll tell you a secret. About that blend of the Prince of Wales. So I made Dad's cigar first, right? And everybody was asking me, they're like, well, when are you going to make the cigar in a different size? And I said, never. And they thought I was crazy. They're like, well, why not? I said, because it's a special cigar for Dad, right? But then here I am just kind of thinking one day, and I said, you know something? Me and Dad are always talking about, back in the day when he was alive, we were always talking about bringing back all these old Tampa brands because he loved the history. Realistically, I get the love of the history and the brands from him because we spent hours just talking about the old labels and the history. And I said, man, I said to him one day, I said, wow, the Prince of Wales, He said, boy, wouldn't that be great if we could bring that back? He goes, that's a brand that is so intertwined with Cuba and the history of Tampa, the history of Cuba, countless, thousands of cigar makers donated the money that they made in the 1800s towards the cause of Cuban freedom, working at the Prince of Wales factory with Mr. Ebor. So wow. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get the blend that I did for my father, and I'm going to make a few different sizes Prince of Wales, and that's what we did.
That's
so
awesome.
The blend of my dad's cigar is that blend. Yeah.
Great story. Yeah, your history is amazing. I love hearing
so much history with that brand.
It's freaking, like I said, this Juan de Fuca.
And Mr. Ebor's great grandson just passed away. And it's a great name, isn't it, Juan de Fuca?
By the way, Arnold, most Cubans I know don't know when Cuban Independence Day is.
20th of May.
That's right, 1902. Yep.
So Arnie, what imparts?
Jimmy, by the way, before you go on, thank you for everything you've done throughout the years. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for sharing what you did earlier. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Did you hear what I said?
I was going to say, what imparts the maple syrup aroma in this Siri Don Ramon right here? I get that. Right at the end,
it's got a little hint of sweetness. Yeah, a little hint of sweetness.
Jimmy,
it's just the aroma just coming in. It's like having pancakes in the morning.
You're right. And that Connecticut wrapper, I like to say that, you hear it all the time. People are like, oh, you're getting a Connecticut, it smokes, but it tastes like air and all this shit. And I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to be a Connecticut, smooth and mild, but with like a nice complexity to it, but a hint of sweetness. And I think we kind of nailed it with that,
Yes, you did.
I think we really did. Thank you.
Awesome. Wow. I love pancakes and syrup.
But Jimmy, Arnold gave you a big, I don't know, you missed it. He said some nice stuff.
Yeah, my internet dropped out. I had to go on the phone.
Oh, Jimmy, I just wanted to say thank you for everything you do for the industry. Thank you for the beautiful, story you just said, the write up that you've done, everything you've done throughout the years. You're a friend. I consider you a brother. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, speaking of sons, Arnold, your son, you said runs your main shop in Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, I'm the main shop. But he runs the other shop, which is Brandon is 22. Let's see, 22. No, 23. Just turned 23. Break it. But he's a great kid. He's actually going to college. He's still going to college, and hopefully he'll be done by the end of this year. And we'll see. So far he enjoys what he's doing, helping us out with the business. And I was there with him today. We were packing up a pretty big order that we had to get out. For one
and
of the
when
stores,
did he have his first cigar?
God, I think we smoked.
14?
You know what? I don't know if legally I can even say this, but we used to go to
we're live, so if it's anything,
don't do it. Okay, never mind.
everything goes.
I take that
He
question back.
he used to help me, man, from the time he was like 10, 11 years old. We got pictures. I used to go to farmers markets and a bunch of different markets around here, and he was always my sidekick. So he's been.
nice.
I think I broke him in like at 15. He was smoking a cigar with me already. It's I like to say it's a Serafin family tradition. And sometimes I'll go to the shop, pop in there, and he's smoking a cigar, just kind of doing his thing, and he's getting more into it now. And it's cool to see the next generation doing it just because they want to do it, not because
Fifth
I'm
generation,
saying, hey,
right?
you got to do this. And,
He's the fifth generation.
He's
Awesome.
the fifth generation.
Awesome, that's fantastic.
I keep joking. I go. I hope there's more. I hope we have more Serafins.
What does he study in college?
You know what he's studying? Believe it or not, he's actually doing accounting, man. Just like my dad was.
There you
He
go.
likes numbers,
yeah,
man.
got that.
Yeah. But he's got two sisters, and his sisters, they're always bugging him, right? They go, Brandon, you're like an old man. You're so grumpy. So they're always busting his chops and stuff.
At 23,
he's kind of grumpy.
He's counting the numbers, man. Of course,
we call him Mr. Grumpy Pants, man.
23 and grumpy.
We call him Mr. Grumpy Pants.
I love it.
He's great, though.
You know what? When somebody's grumpy, that shows character. Hopefully one of these days you can come up this neck of the woods, and
I would love that.
Oh, we definitely want to come down and see you. You know what I mean? So
for sure, whatever. That's one thing I'm very fortunate, man. Everybody always comes in to visit because vacation place, right?
Well, we're going to be down in Florida in November for La Zona Palooza with Eric. So we'll be down that neck of the woods. Okay. So who knows?
That's in Miami, I think you did.
Yeah. It's down in Miami, and that's like a couple hours away from you, isn't it? It's like
4.5, yeah.
Yeah, that's not the same trip.
That's like a quick jaunt.
That's like us going to Pittsburgh or something.
Yeah. People say,
it's get a Cuban sandwich. Get a Cuban sandwich in the morning, get some gas, and then come on up.
All right, there you go.
If you didn't have a real job, you could do that, right?
Oh, God.
Travel all over Florida.
So what we're going to do, guys, my battery is almost dead on my laptop here. But, Arnold, I want to say thank you so much for jumping on. It was a pleasure meeting you. I met you, like I said, out in Vegas, and I'm glad that we got together. And I want to thank everybody out there and everybody off to the side. And if he's still on, Carlito, thank you for jumping in. And thank for everybody off on the side on Facebook Live for jumping in.
And Arnold, thank you for the cigars.
Yes, thank you for the
fabulous.
cigars.
We're really enjoying
them. Guys, enjoy them.